It's been a very, very long day / night. My God. Let's talk some wrestling, shall we? Wrestlemania. The granddaddy of them all. Even though they don't call it that anymore because it makes it sound too old, apparently, or whatever. This is going to go down as one of the more interesting and perhaps polarizing WrestleManias in history. What on paper looked to be perhaps the best card of all time in a lot of cases, according to quite a few people, as I thought the camera there was lagging. To many people, it is not. To many people, it might have lived up to the hype. And for me, as I think will be the case with most people, it's somewhere in between. Now, this show, I watched everything, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern until 12:05 a.m. My God, what was it? The 14 matches in total, the 3 pre-show matches, all the way up to the main event, and let's just, I have to say, because I'm also going to tack on the NXT card from the night before, because they're going to be, the NXT show is going to be a lot more generalized statements because it was such a great show, top to bottom. There's not really that much controversy and not really that much to talk about, whereas with this, there are certain things that are going to be, have been, and will continue to be discussed in the next few days. So getting down to business with this WrestleMania card, the first match of the night was the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, won by Woken Matt Hardy, which I predicted that we'd see the return of Big Cass. There were no returns in this match. We did get a dab from Goldust, and I thought that was going to be one of the more shocking moments of the night. Matt Hardy wins with the help of Bray Wyatt, who is back a little bit sooner than I expected. But Bray Wyatt does indeed cause a distraction, allowing Matt Hardy to eliminate the winner from 2 years ago, Baron Corbin, as they have, as Hardy and Wyatt are clearly in an alliance now at this point. What that means for, say, Jeff when he comes back, is Jeff going to, splinter off and do his own thing, or will he be a part of this group? Of course, we did see him appear in the Ultimate Deletion. I'm intrigued to see how that works out, but it's the next logical step in the Hardy-Wyatt story. There was no sense for them to feud beyond this point. Makes sense for them to team, and I'm cool with Matt Hardy winning this. Although, I will say, I think it would have been nice, and they did this too with the Women's Battle Royal that we'll talk about, I think it would have been nice to have the main players get their entrances. That's typically how they've done it in years past, but they just threw everybody into the ring, whether it be the Revival, Kane, Baron Corbin. It's just like, okay, here's everybody, have fun. It's like, at least give us some hints as to who was going to be a major player here. Although once you kind of saw that there were going to be no returns or, debuts, it was kind of obvious that it was going to be someone like a Matt Hardy. The way it happened, not quite. But overall, it's a Battle Royal. Not too much to say about it aside from what I said. We then got the Cruiserweight title match. Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. Cedric does, in fact, win the Cruiserweight title, as, of course, we pretty much all know he was planned, or he was poised to do months ago before the Enzo Amore stuff went down. So congrats to Cedric for finally getting the title. Very solid match. I think the biggest complaint with this match happened to be from people on Twitter, just complaining about the amount of commercial breaks. But again, the pre-show was simulcast on USA Network. It was also on YouTube. So, of course, every 5 seconds, you're getting the hard sell about WrestleMania being free for new subscribers. Again, I thought that was screwing up. Are we lagging here and all? No, we're good. Okay, weird. Maybe I'm just that tired and I'm losing my mind. We then got the Women's Battle Royal for the Fallopian Tube Trophy. I mean, the Moolah. Nope, it's not the Moolah. It's the Fallopian Tube Trophy. Come on. Come on. You know what WWE did. Oh, really? You're going to rat us out the Snickers over Moolah? We'll enjoy this reproductive system trophy, which was won by Naomi. Yay. Again, with the entrances, Becky Lynch gets an entrance. And then, hey, here's the rest of the women except for Bayley and Sasha, who also get entrances. It's kind of weird. A lot of NXT women in there. They started an NXT chant. It was very weird. It's a battle royal. Sasha gets eliminated. Sasha Banks gets eliminated by Bayley. And then Bayley gets eliminated by Naomi. I still would have liked to have seen an Ember Moon in that spot to get the final elimination. But what are you going to do? Good for Naomi, I guess? I mean, I don't know, maybe she'll be the next challenger for the SmackDown Women's title. We shall see. But overall, the main story was, of course, Sasha and Bayley. Hooray for that. They'll get their one-on-one match at Backlash. We move on to the main card, and the show started off on a very strong note. The Miz defending the IC title against Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. Some very strong entrances here, too. The Miz's entrance, I mean, just... let's go with the word unique, and also the first of a few entrances where we saw these 3D kind of, we'll call them 3D graphics, basically. It's weird. You gotta see it to know exactly what I was talking about. Different, they tried some different stuff. Same thing with Asuka's entrance. Seth Rollins as the Night King from Game of Thrones, which was pretty damn sick, and Finn Balor as a proud gay man. No, I'm kidding, but Finn Balor decked out in very supportive LGBT community colors, which, hey, more fucking power to him. You could tell, though. You could tell. And I phrased that weird. I'm all in favor, is what I'm saying. I feel like I phrased that weird. I'm tired, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to be careful with how I speak here. I think a lot of people were very disappointed that we didn't get the Demon, although that really didn't make sense. And I'm glad. Save that for big occasions. But overall, a very strong opener. I predicted The Miz to win. That is not the case. He drops the title to Seth Rollins, who completes the Triple Crown Grand Slam Championship. Call it what you will. It used to be the Triple Crown. He's now Grand Slam champion. He wins the Intercontinental title for the first time. I would have preferred it to go to Finn Balor, just because I don't know what's left for Finn now at this point, and we'll see. I don't really think it makes all that much sense to have a match again between Rollins and Finn. Maybe it will happen. Whether or not The Miz gets time off, I'd expect that to be the case. Although they were really hyping up how he was close to beating Pedro Morales' record for the most days, with the title. So we'll see how soon The Miz is right back in the picture. And for Rollins, I mean, if he's due for a lengthy reign, I mean, I feel like right now with Seth, it's just a matter of killing time until Dean Ambrose is back, when ultimately they're going to pick up where they left off, where the plan at Mania was Rollins and Ambrose. They're going to continue that. I think we'll get that for SummerSlam. This time, though, with the roles reversed, Dean being the heel, which I think will be pretty damn solid. Second match of the night, and our first big moment. Charlotte and Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship. In terms of in-ring work, despite this match going for 13 minutes and 5 seconds, according to the Wikipedia article at this current point in time, the in-ring work was spectacular. I wish this match could have gone another 7 minutes. Give them an even 20. It would have been great. If anything, that's my one complaint about this match, is that it did not go long enough. However, the result of the match, shocking enough, as the first ever Women's Royal Rumble winner, the undefeated Asuka is defeated, but not just defeated. She taps out to the figure 8 in the center of the ring. The streak is over. Asuka, who was originally brought into NXT apparently as one of those who they had no plans of ever calling up to the main roster. They were supposed to be that NXT staple. She turns in to the biggest thing in the women's division on either roster. She gets the call up, and of course in that short amount of time, I believe she was called up in November, might have been late October, where she had that match with Emma, and then she was released like 2 weeks later. But in that short amount of time, they were able to translate it very well to her being a killer on NXT, to her being the most dominant woman on the main roster. And of course, winning the Women's Royal Rumble helped out with that significantly. So you factor that in, and looking at how she was originally planned to be, we'll say, handled on the NXT roster, I can't really say in hindsight now that I'm all that surprised that Charlotte got the win here. In terms of the women on the main roster, it is Charlotte. You could argue it's now Ronda. It was Asuka right there, and now it's Charlotte, Ronda, and everybody else. I don't know where Asuka goes from here with such a clean defeat. I don't know what she does, what title she goes for next in terms of going after an Alexa or a Nia. I just don't see what they do with Asuka next. For Charlotte, I imagine it's just biding time. Maybe we'll see, Carmella cash in successfully or unsuccessfully. I almost feel like, and that was the discussion on a lot of Twitter posts that I saw. The thought of Charlotte and Ronda being the big program, which it makes sense. The question is, when does that happen? Do they rush it to a SummerSlam, or do they give Ronda a year to get ready and have that be the big women's match at next year's Mania? Potentially the first ever women's main event at a Mania, which, if you were ever going to do that, Charlotte against Ronda Rousey, that is the way to do it. But Asuka's streak is over in definitive fashion. Again, the match itself was great. And once again, a streak is broken at the Superdome. And it's a little bit bittersweet. Like I said, I almost feel like you could have continued to build it up, and just not knowing how the story is going to play out, not knowing what Asuka does next, whether or not it feels like a waste, whether or not they threw away potential here, time will tell. But for now, it provided one of the bigger moments of this show. We move on to the United States Championship match. You want to talk about wasted potential and wasted opportunities? This is your first example of that on this card. Randy Orton defending the title against former champion Bobby Roode, Jinder Mahal, and Rusev. And flat out, Jinder Mahal pins Rusev after hitting the Colossus. He is your new United States champion. Just looking at this match, having been the biggest Randy Orton mark a decade ago, does anyone really care about Randy Orton right now? Like, everyone knows how good he is in ring. Everyone respects that. But Randy Orton is just not that big of a deal. But him having the title gave him something to do. Bobby Roode, again, he's treading water as a face. It just doesn't make sense. He needs to be that full-on cocky heel. And in terms of a traditional heel, he's one of the best at it under the WWE umbrella. Jinder Mahal, I mean, set up as your go-to anti-American traditional heel, which is okay, and clearly what they went with here. But again, the potential was there for Rusev to at least have a moment, to have something. For him to have, whether or not it's just because of the memes and through the internet, one way or another, he is one of the most over acts on the roster right now, and you had an opportunity to at least do something to capitalize on that tonight, and you did not. Now, you look at, say, what happened with Cesaro 4 years ago in the Superdome. He, despite being a heel, he gets his moment, the crowd goes fucking apeshit. Same thing could have happened here with Rusev, and I honestly don't know why they didn't pull the trigger. And you can't tell me that you couldn't have just had Rusev win and then do the same thing that you did with Zack Ryder. Hell, that you did with Christian. You win the title on Sunday, drop it on a Tuesday. Then again, Ryder dropped it on a Monday. He dropped it the very next night after WrestleMania 32. I would have taken that trade-off. You get the moment of Rusev victorious, and then find a way, it doesn't really matter, find a way to get the belt to Jinder Mahal on Tuesday. Or even a Backlash. Find a way to do it. There could have been a way. So, very disappointing to have Jinder Mahal win. And again, for me, Jinder Mahal, it's the X-Pac, just go away heat. I don't care. The stereotypical anti-American heel thing does nothing for me. It still works, though, which is why they continue to go with it. If you don't think it works, go to a house show that Jinder Mahal is on. Go ahead. It works, and you will see that it works. But in terms of creating an interesting storyline, no. I have no interest in seeing what happens beyond that point. I mean, unless someone gets called up, but yeah, even then. So, I'm sorry, Rusev, it didn't quite happen. From there, arguably the match of the night, the most complete match in terms of work rate. Charlotte and Asuka, along with, you could even throw in AJ and Shinsuke, are up there in terms of the work rate. But in terms of the most complete package, the match of the night, Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. I'm not going to go into detail about this match. Just watch it. It's a spectacle. It is your perfectly booked sports entertainment match. Stephanie was hidden very well. Ronda was hidden very well. I'm going to leave that in. The joys the absolute joys of having OBS be my main way of recording webcam and having apparently someone follow my Twitch account. So shout out to whoever that is. You know what? Here, let's leave this in. Stream labels. Stream labels, if you would gladly open. Let's see who followed my channel at 3:50 in the morning Eastern. Because again, the show, Wrestlemania, ended at 12:05 and I just got done streaming and wanted to re-record this. Stream labels is taking a while to load. That is okay. Point being, Stephanie was booked perfectly, Ronda was booked perfectly. There was a little bit of sloppiness from Ronda at the beginning. Aside from that, smooth sailing, and full credit to the crowd in New Orleans. They were behind this match. They were behind Ronda, and that's a big part of the reason. Tai Shen 91. There you go. Shout out to Tai Shen 91. The crowd at the Superdome deserve a lot of credit here because they could have easily shit on this match, but they didn't. They gave Ronda a chance. They gave this match a chance again, despite it being that perfect sports entertainment match. The key is that they got it right. You look at Sting and Triple H from WrestleMania 31, kind of that ideal, like overbooked sports entertainment match. Not that this match tonight was overbooked. They got the wrong result, though, and that kind of ruins that match. Here they got it right. It was booked perfectly for what it needed to be. The ending was perfect with Ronda finally getting the submission after numerous attempts on Stephanie, who apparently has better submission defense than the majority of the UFC women's roster. That aside, again, Ronda did very well. Kurt did very well, all things considered. Triple H sold like a boss. And, I mean, say what you want about Ronda's boxing skills. She didn't have the worst punches and kicks on the roster tonight. At the very least, that honor would belong to a different McMahon. We'll talk about him in just a moment. But, yeah, overall, match of the night, hands down. Golf claps all around to all four involved. Again, this was a tremendously well-booked match. And any time that Stephanie gets her comeuppance, it's always great because for so long, it didn't happen. But that's 2 years in a row now, whether her taking the table bump last year or taking the armbar this year. I got to give them credit. Great feud, great build-up, even though it was a little bit spotty there with Ronda. She'll get better at the talking, I can hope, or at least I can only hope. And if they'll continue to book her in this way where they're keeping her safe. And this was tremendous. Like I said, my match of the night. In terms of matches going out of your way to see, I mean, again, the Cruiserweight title was solid, but, it's that style of match, that high-flying style of match. The opener wasn't too bad. Charlotte and Asuka, I definitely recommend checking out. And this, if you're gonna check out one match that isn't just for the oh wait, what the hell that happened kind of factor. If you're checking out a match because you want to see a good, entertaining match, this is the one, undoubtedly. And I'm saying that on a card that featured AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. We'll talk about that in a minute. Moving on. The SmackDown Tag Team titles, the New Day, the Bludgeon Brothers, and the Usos. My pick were the Usos. Their first WrestleMania. They made such a big deal out of that. They're walking as defending champions, and it seemed way too obvious that the Bludgeon Brothers would walk out as champions. They did. I thought, again, that they would beat the hell out of the New Day and the Usos would steal the pin. No. The Bludgeon Brothers dominate and are your new champions in apparently 5 minutes and 50 seconds. And talking about disappointing matches, again, the U.S. title match was disappointing just because of the result. This was disappointing because it was given no time. It was given no time whatsoever. The story was basically, again, the Bludgeon Brothers absolutely dominating and winning the titles. And from here, I mean, it does suck because obviously you look back to, say, about 5 years ago or so when the Usos and then at the time the Wyatt family members had great matches. The Usos were picking up wins in that feud. And now you fast forward and they're just getting decimated to the point where you have to wonder what's next. And I can't help but think that we're going to see the Authors of Pain show up on Tuesday. Who else is possibly going to challenge for these titles. From how they're shaping it up to be, it's got to be a monster team against monster team, and it does make sense for the Authors of Pain to show up on SmackDown. It also makes sense for them to show up on Raw, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm intrigued to see what happens. I'm disappointed for the Usos. I mean, they've been on such a great run. But when the highlight of this match is arguably the New Day's entrance of them coming to the ring with little people in pancake costumes, and 2 of them did the worm. I'm not joking. That happened. I know. That's one of those moments as a wrestling fan where you're like, okay, right. So aside from that, it was solid. I'm actually trying to think back to any like super notable moments from the previous matches, but I think we covered it all. Now I will say, up until the end of Charlotte and Asuka, through the first 5 matches of this show and throughout the pre-show, they kept showing John Cena in the crowd. He was interviewed. He kept taking pictures with fans and showing his reaction, especially to the Cruiserweight match. It was all well and good. In the immediate aftermath of the SmackDown Women's title match, Cena's alerted that Taker's here, and after the SmackDown title match, Cena comes to the ring. He is interrupted by the darkness, and then Elias. Elias with the troll of the century, which I think a lot of people saw coming, but still, it was tremendous. I love Elias. I mean, even though he kind of does the job out for Cena, he just gets disposed of, no problem. He was great on the mic, of course, running down New Orleans, and Cena, of course, gets the better of him. That leads, though, to the Undertaker. Not only appearing, but having a match, so to speak. If you consider a 2-minute and 45-second squash a match, The Undertaker destroys John Cena at WrestleMania, and I loved every goddamn second of it. Now, here's the thing. Last year, I sat here after WrestleMania 33 thinking to myself, you know what? It sucks. It hurts. But I'm all right with Taker being done. And then the music hit, the lightning strikes, and I get taken back to when I'm a kid. And it's like, nope, I'm good with this. I'm good with this. Taker comes out. He looks pretty damn good. He, again, just runs through Cena, hits old school. Cena battles back, goes to hit the 5-knuckle shuffle. Taker sits up. Cena sells it like a madman. Choke slam, tombstone, the end. And speaking... I'll bring this up now because there were a couple of meme-worthy moments on this show, one of which we'll talk about towards the end of this card. But you did have Cena running to the back when the ref alerted him as to Taker being in the building. That was a gif and a half. You also have the moment of Taker about to hit Cena with the tombstone and being captured with a pretty funny face. That is also a thing. Maybe not as funny as Aleister Black, celebrating with the title, like the kid from the video who gets the N64. Basically had some tattoos, and that was Aleister Black on Saturday. But there was another moment that I think takes the cake for memes coming out of this show. But yeah, I loved every second of this. Taker again beats Cena in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Is this setting up a rematch? Of course it is. Will it be at SummerSlam or next year's Mania? I do not know, but regardless, despite how I felt last year about Taker possibly wrestling again, I love this. This was great. Best use of Taker you could possibly have, as opposed to having him try to wrestle a full 20-minute main event against Roman Reigns, much like we saw with Rousey. This is the type of match. I'm not saying every Taker match has to be a 2-minute squash. You got to do better. In protecting him, it has to be a more sports entertainment match as opposed to that hard-hitting main event. So for this, I loved it. And at the very least, Cena does the job at Mania. Not that he's against it, but, for those who are like, oh, well, look what he did. Granted, he didn't lose to an up-and-comer. But, hey, it worked. It was great. I loved it. No complaints. Don't know what I'm doing with my hand. It was great. I loved it. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This went about as expected. Bryan's taken out early. Shane takes a lot of damage. Bryan makes the comeback. Bryan gets the win. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were tremendous. My God, his heels. They are so goddamn entertaining. With the trash talking and the taunting. You already know this. Daniel Bryan looked tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. in this match, and I'm intrigued to see what he does next, whether or not he is back full-time, as I'm looking over at the doggo, whether or not he's back full-time or is just, you know, semi-regular. We'll see. Of course, with the result of this, Owens and Zayn will be going over to Raw, we would expect, unless something crazy happens. But, yeah, good match. Not complaining. Exactly what you would expect from Daniel Bryan's return. Although, again, Shane McMahon, the punching and the kicking, the worst on the roster. I love Shane. God, when Stephanie has better strikes than you, buddy. Oh, it was bad. It was bad, but good match overall. Great to have Daniel Bryan back. Of course, he got the reaction that you would have expected. We then had Nia Jax going for the Raw Women's title against Alexa Bliss. 10 minutes, 15 seconds. Really good match. I'm not complaining. Did it hit the levels of Charlotte and Asuka? No, and of course at this point the crowd was starting to feel a little bit of burnout, but they did get into this match, particularly at the end. We saw 2 tremendous Samoan drops done by women in this event, or on this card. Ronda Rousey destroyed Stephanie McMahon with a swinging Samoan drop, and then Nia Jax hits Alexa Bliss from the second rope with a Samoan drop, picks up the win. The bully actually lost. Be a star, kids. For once, the bully lost. Nia is the new women's champion, which is great. I love Alexa Bliss, but it was the right thing for the story. Happy to see Nia with the belt. Happy to see what they do moving forward in terms of who her next challenger will be. I'm expecting an Alexa rematch, but we'll see how that plays out. But again, solid match. No complaints. And a nice moment. A nice moment on this particular card. And then, all right, we get to the final 3 matches on this card. And you want to talk about polarizing. These are the 3 matches for that. These are the 3. AJ Styles defending the WWE Championship against Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't even want to look at the camera because I just want to hold my head down in disappointment. What happened? Technically, it's a fine match. I don't know if the hype level was too high. You know, I don't know what happened here. What a disappointment. In terms of what this match could have been, in terms of what this match should have been. Very New Japan style with the slow start. It's building up. It's getting good. And then it ends. Nakamura goes for the Kinshasa. AJ rolls through, hits a Styles Clash, and gets the win. Now, when is the last time in a big match situation that AJ Styles has won with the Styles Clash? I believe he beat Sami Zayn. I was told this on chat on Twitch after Mania. I was told he won a match against Sami Zayn on SmackDown with it. In a big time situation, since AJ has been in the WWE, we have been programmed to know that this is not the killer move in a main event style match with AJ Styles. So when the pinfall comes in the most anticipated match work rate wise on this WrestleMania card, and when he ends this match with Styles Clash, I mean, you can see in the front row a guy goes 1, 2, 3. Wow. Same thing for me. I'm like, really? That's it. Now it's a 20-minute match. It should have been 25 or 30. They deserved extra time. They needed extra time. The finish, it wasn't the right finish. It's a good sequence. That shouldn't have been the ending. That shouldn't have been the ending sequence. AJ Styles retains. You can argue whether or not that's the right choice. 2 things you can argue here: whether or not the right guy walked out with the belt, and whether or not the right guy walked out as the heel. As Shinsuke Nakamura low blows AJ Styles after the match and beats him down. Shinsuke is heel to the majority of the current audience for the first time. Of course, Shinsuke was a heel back in New Japan, particularly when Chaos was starting. He was a heel champion, but for the most part, since he's been in the public eye, we'll say, for the majority of American fans, he's been a face. You start to think when New Japan really started gaining traction, 2011, 12, 13, especially into 2014, he's been a face. For the first time, he's going to be a heel, and he is a tremendous heel because, of course, it's fucking Shinsuke Nakamura. He's a tremendous performer. I am cool with him turning heel. I'm intrigued to see what he can do because, as a lot of people have said, something's been missing with his character, and it's just been the way that WWE has handled him. I would argue, though, that he should have won the belt, turning heel in the process. I think if that match goes another 5 to 10 minutes, AJ and Shinsuke, it's a pure stalemate. They've hit each other with everything, and nothing's getting done. You have the ref bump. Shinsuke gets desperate, hits the same goddamn low blow, beats AJ Styles, turns heel, wins the title. As opposed to, again, having both Rumble winners lose, and now Shinsuke turns heel. He'll probably get the rematch at Backlash and win. I think it would have been bigger to have Nakamura cheat to win the belt at Mania. AJ, at the very least, got his Mania win last year against Shane. I mean, obviously, you could argue that, you know, AJ is also deserving of this win in this spot. But in terms of the heel turn, I'm not saying it wasn't effective. I mean, it got one hell of a reaction. It caught me off guard for sure. Was not expecting it. I will not be like, oh, I saw that coming from a mile away. No. Very few people could, if anybody, could say they saw that coming, right? Solid heel turn. I'm just saying it could have been better. I'm disappointed by the match. It was good. It needed more time. This match, you know, when you look at this match on paper, you watch the Wrestle Kingdom matchup from 3 years ago, you're expecting Austin Brett levels. I don't know if you're expecting HBK Taker levels. You're expecting something up here. We were about here. Another 5 to 10 minutes, we could have hit that level. Combined with the heel turn at the end, if you still wanted to accomplish telling that story, you could have made it work. I'm not going to keep hammering on about it. My biggest disappointment with this WrestleMania, and in terms of, you know, like match quality, I mean, I would rate Taker Cena ahead of this. A match that was 18 minutes shorter. I would rate that above Styles and Nakamura, because to me the finish was flat and the match did not live up to expectation. The heel turn was nice. It could have been done even more effectively, in my opinion. I like AJ Styles too. It's not that I'm just a big Nakamura mark. I like Styles too. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for wanting to have my cake and eat it too, basically. But I feel like the win would have been better suited for Shinsuke. Not to mention, again, both Rumble winners lose. So, I don't know. Just my thoughts on the match, though. Again, I talked about polarizing matches. I'm not going to say this is the most popular opinion. I'm sure, you know, you guys here, and of course, whether it's Twitter, Squared Circle on Reddit. I mean, you know, opinion's an opinion, right? Polarizing match number 2. The Raw Tag Team titles. The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro, defend against Braun Strowman and Nicholas. If you have not seen the match, watch it right now before continuing on with this video. You have 5 seconds. A little bit longer than that as I take a swig of water. As it's recently been revealed, of course, you know, the immediate assumption is, okay, it's someone's kid, it's a Make-A-Wish kid. It is referee John Cone's son, Nicholas, who is pulled out of the crowd by Braun Strowman and is his tag team partner. I loved every second of this. Strowman and Nicholas are Raw Tag Team Champions, as ridiculous as that sounds. It was a great moment. It was entertaining. Cesaro shit-talking the kid is and was more entertaining to me than Styles and Nakamura. Which, I mean, again, maybe I was just coming off of the disappointment of that and knowing that the main event was still coming. I'm not sure. But I enjoyed this. I don't know. Maybe I'm changing as a wrestling fan. Maybe I enjoy more of the sports entertainment stuff. Like the Rousey match. Like the Undertaker Cena squash. I don't know. I really enjoyed this. Maybe I'm just that big of a fan of Braun Strowman. I don't know. But as dumb as this is, I expect this to be resolved soon. At the very least, it was entertaining. And this is where I'm saying the Authors of Pain could come in on Monday. If you're going to have anybody beat Braun Strowman, it could be the Authors of Pain. And it'd be a hell of a way to introduce them, to have them just destroy Braun and win the tag titles on their first night. Could happen. But for the moment, Braun Strowman and a 10-year-old are Raw Tag Team Champions. Unbelievable. And that brings us to the main event. Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. This is a match that needs to be experienced as well, but not for the right reasons. As despite all indications that this would probably be the case, the crowd turned. Whether it was the numerous beach balls that went up in the crowd that completely took their attention, whether or not it was the "this is awful" chant for the main event of WrestleMania. Just the only time, put it this way, there was an F5 through a table and you could hear crickets. That is how sad this was. I have never heard a non-reaction for an announce table spot. It was insane. The only time this crowd really reacted was with the finish, where Brock Lesnar retained, which, yes, is shocking. It is now the second time in a row at the Superdome where Lesnar's been in a match where everyone is 100% convinced he's losing, and he ends up winning. So in that way, it's not all that shocking, even, of course, with the UFC rumors. Dana White was in attendance. They showed him on camera at the end of the Rousey match. Still, this was an outright disaster. Regardless of what this leads to, I'm not sure what this leads to for Roman and what his next program is. Can't imagine it would be a rematch. For Brock, do we see a Bobby Lashley return Monday night? Maybe. I don't know what else they do and how quickly he's looking to leave to go to the UFC, if at all. If it's a work, then, hey, commitment to the craft, right? Good job on their part. But Brock Lesnar retains. To most, still this title reign over the past year has been just so dull. And I'm going to get into talking about the match in a second, but from, beating Samoa Joe, beating Braun Strowman, surviving the Fatal 4-Way at SummerSlam, I don't even remember who the hell he beat. He beat Strowman at Survivor Series, right? And then beat Strowman and Kane at the Rumble. And talking about programming the audience to being used to something, of course, AJ Styles never really wins with the Styles Clash in big matches. He wins with one. Brock Lesnar, knocking everybody down with one F5. I could not tell you how many F5s he hit in this match. At least 5. Go figure. At the end of the day, I feel so sorry for both performers. Because this had to be the most embarrassing experience of their careers, I'd imagine. As the crowd did not give a single fuck about their match, and why would they? Again, I like Brock Lesnar. When he's motivated, he has strong matches. Roman Reigns, I don't think anyone really hates Roman Reigns. You can't tell me people hate Roman Reigns. They just hate the way he's been booked over the past 3 years or so. That's all it is. That's all it is. I mean, it's fairly obvious from the second the Shield broke up, and it's Rollins against Ambrose, and bam, you immediately start pushing Reigns up. And people are like, but that's bullshit. It started there, and it, of course, hasn't stopped. I don't need to explain that. I feel sorry for both of them, because they busted their asses in this match. Even if this match was laid out, I mean, I don't know. Who's to blame for this? Vince, the agent that worked on the match, the two men themselves. I'm against calling it the worst Mania main event of all time. But it's in the ballpark. If someone were to say, yeah, I know that I'm trying to think of an example here. I know that, Hogan and Slaughter at 7 was kind of average. I know that Hogan and Sid at 8 was bad. Even if you wanted to consider, if you consider Hogan and Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9 the true main event, then yeah, I suppose that's the worst. But case in point, it takes something really bottom of the barrel to be considered a worse main event than this. Where, again, I don't know who structured this match, but what kind of reaction did you expect when it's video game signatures and finishers on 100 by default, where it's just like, it makes sense for the Goldberg match last year when it's 5 minutes long. F5, spear, German suplex, F5, 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 spear, 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 F5, F5, spear, spear, F5, F5, elbow, 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 spear, spear, F5, F5. Pretty sure I got the breakdown of the match correct, because that's all it was. That's all it was. Multiple spears, multiple F5s. Lesnar hits Reigns with the Orton-style elbows from SummerSlam. Cuts him up, although some debate over whether or not it was a legitimate cut. Tough to tell with the hair, which leads to the assumption that it was a fake cut. Regardless, the visual of Roman bleeding like crazy was great. I mean, obviously, he looked like a madman with the hair and everything. At the end of the day, he still gets hit with another F5 and loses. And Brock Lesnar is still your champion. So again, what this leads to, who the hell knows? Aside from the 2 seconds of a shocking reaction of Lesnar winning and then everyone going, oh, everyone, 1, 2, 3, yeah, what? Oh, well, fuck, Brock's still champion. Oh. And that was that. The feud itself, like the story they were telling was all right, but still, you're having Roman, you're sabotaging this fucking guy. You're having him main event his 4th consecutive Mania. The only other person to ever do that is Hulk Hogan from WrestleMania 5 against Savage, 6 against Warrior, 7 against Slaughter, and 8 against Sid Justice. There's a reason why. There's a reason why after WrestleMania 8, Hogan started disappearing a bit. He comes back at 9, that goes terribly, and he's gone by King of the Ring. It's just, it's amazing, right? It's just amazing to see how poor of a situation they were set up for. And there's really, I don't know what else they were supposed to do aside from the finisher spam match. Like, there was seemingly no answer. And like I said, as far as what happens with both guys moving forward from a storyline perspective, who the fuck knows? But I have never walked away from a WrestleMania main event feeling sorry for both performers for having to go through the match. I'm sure in terms of bank account, neither guy fucking cares. But just, it was sad. It was sad. And not in like an Undertaker, what are they doing, trying to make him go with the straightforward main event style match against Roman. Sad. Just, it's like, really? You didn't see this coming? It's either you're dumb enough to have not seen this situation coming, or you just didn't give a fuck and you went through with it anyway, only to have Lesnar win. I don't know. So you can see what I mean about the last 3 matches being polarizing. Overall, do I consider this a bad Mania? No, I don't. Despite some disappointments, at the very least, there are very, very few matches where there aren't really talking points. And even then, in an instance like Nia and Alexa, it's still a strong match. So many of these matches, there's so much to talk about. There's so many opinions to have. Your opinion on the main event, your opinion on Braun, AJ and Nakamura, just the top 3 matches in general. Your opinion on Daniel Bryan and how he looked in his return. There's so much to it that just for the talking points alone, it makes it interesting. And obviously, I mean, I've been talking for almost 45 minutes here. There's so much to discuss, as opposed to NXT, which there really isn't much to talk about because top to bottom, it was an amazing card and the best takeover of all time. You look, and I'm going to tack this on here because I recorded a takeover review, and I'm like, wow, I'm rambling a lot because I'm just not getting to the point. The opening ladder match was spectacular. In terms of ladder match standards, it was great. In terms of, even if that's not your style, it's still a good match at the very least. Everybody looked good. I'd argue EC3 actually looked the weakest of the group in his debut match, and that's simply because he was overshadowed by Ricochet making his debut. I compare it to Aries debuting on the same night as Nakamura, if not worse though, because they were involved in the same match. But Ricochet looked like a star. Velveteen Dream is a star. And Adam Cole gets the win, which really isn't all that surprising because it did seem like a setup to have the Undisputed Era have gold without Cole needing the main NXT title. So that worked out really well. And Adam Cole was great in that match. Ricochet nearly wins, so setting up something for the future there. The second match, Shayna Baszler and Ember Moon. In terms of women's matches, not just in terms of regular matches, but again, in terms of women's matches, still probably the top one on the weekend. You can debate that with Asuka and Charlotte. Even Nia and Alexa, there was some really fucking good women's wrestling on this. And again, just in general, they were great matches. Not, oh, they were great matches for women. They were just really good fucking matches. Shayna Baszler, you know, her selling of the shoulder, knocking it, you know, back in the socket using the ring post was tremendous. I know Shayna went to the Will Ospreay school of selling, which is just being extremely vocal, and that rubs some people the wrong way. It doesn't really bother me. I think Shayna's great. Ember Moon is spectacular, and I hope again that we see her on Monday or Tuesday as Shayna gets the win. And again, talk about the psychology of Shayna's win, using the chokehold, but her arm being weakened, having Ember hit, you know, the own arm stomp on her. Completing the choke by holding on to her own hair for leverage because she can't use that left arm for leverage. Spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. And I imagine for Shayna, it's building up to facing Kairi Sane at TakeOver in the summer. So that's going to be tremendous. The NXT tag title match, also really good. Probably the weakest match on the show, but that's saying something because this was a very good tag match. Adam Cole's taken out immediately, having already competed in the North American Championship ladder match, of course, filling in for the injured Bobby Fish. Kyle O'Reilly was the MVP. He worked so fucking hard in this match, and of course, Kyle O'Reilly is tremendous. Of course, the Undisputed Era going up against the Authors of Pain and the team of Strong and Dunn in this title match slash Dusty Rhodes Tag Tournament Final. And shockingly, we get a turn as Roderick Strong joins the Undisputed Era. He and Pete Dunne 1 count away from winning the tag team titles. Strong turns on Dunne, helps O'Reilly get the pin, and he joins the faction. I'm intrigued to see how they explain this storyline-wise, because, again, for Strong, if it's about winning gold, I mean, you were literally half a second away from Dunn getting the 3 count on Kyle O'Reilly, but you decided to go with the Undisputed Era in general. You also kicked the shit out of Kyle O'Reilly in this match, so storyline-wise, I'll be intrigued. Did he just realize his hatred for Pete Dunne at the time? If they explain this wisely, it'll be fine. Again, if it's, oh, I wanted to make sure I got tag gold, well, I mean, again, you know, Pete Dunne was just about to get the pin when you fucked him over. So I'm intrigued to see how they explain that. But again, the match was solid and the turn was unexpected. That brings us to the NXT Championship match. Just go watch it. Andrade Cien Almas and Aleister Black. Spectacular. And what a run these guys have been on. Aleister Black, you look at the match against the Velveteen Dream, again, who's a star. Velveteen Dream's amazing. He was so good in the ladder match, and of course so good in his match with Aleister Black. You look at the Extreme Rules match, the hardcore match against Adam Cole, and then this match here for Cien. You look at the title match with Drew Galloway, you look at what he did with Johnny Gargano, and then this. Both of them have been absolutely amazing. I hope we see Cien on the main roster. Aleister Black is your new champion, which you want to talk about memes, him holding up the title, again, looking like the fucking kid on Christmas Day with the N64. Happy to see Aleister Black with the title. Tremendous match. Tremendous match. And on any other TakeOver, would probably be the match of the night, had it not been for the main event. Gargano and Ciampa, go watch it. That's it. Go watch it. The storytelling, the just absolute brutality. Put it this way. The only spoiler I'll say, even though you've probably already heard the winner, I don't remember the last time somebody actually took a bump on the concrete. I don't remember the last time someone pulled up the mats, let alone the last time someone was actually slammed onto the concrete. It was brutal. The match, whether or not it's a 5-6 star classic, whatever else, it's a must-watch match, at the very least, in my opinion. And now you can kind of see why I didn't put up an NXT review on its own, because there's nothing to do but just praise this event, because it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. The main event in general, again, the storytelling, Ciampa's heel work, the crowd. I talked about the crowd being on point for the Ronda match. The way they were all over Ciampa was perfect. And again, the crowd at TakeOver deserves a lot of credit because they helped make that match something very, very special. So overall, guys, 50 minutes into this or so, I wanted to re-record this. I originally talked about this on stream, but I had to re-record this and make it a bit more concise. And also, I mean, hey, when you have time to think things through, take a look back at some matches, your opinion can change. But overall, WrestleMania, is it worth watching? Yes. If not, at the very least, for the controversial moments and the polarizing moments. And of course, NXT Takeover is by far one of the, if not the best takeover there's ever been. So check that out for sure. Let me know, as I'm going to wrap this up here, let me know what you thought of the weekend that was wrestling-wise. Let me know what you think is going to happen on Monday and Tuesday here as we go into the Raw and SmackDown after. That is it for this one. I thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you next time. Shinsuke and AJ.